Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We are here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go. Rachel started drinking and using drugs at age 14. The substances helped keep her distracted from the internal pain different life events had caused her. The alcohol and drug use would carry on for many years, and Rachel found herself lost in this great big world. The pandemic was a blessing. Rachel is forever grateful for her painful journey of addiction because her alcohol-free life would not mean anywhere near as much without the struggle beforehand. Rachel has been sober since January 3rd, 2021, and this is her story on the Sober Motivation Podcast. If you still haven't had a chance to check out the Sober Buddy app, I highly encourage it. We have an incredibly thriving recovery community building on the app every single day. There is the private communities that you can get involved with. There's daily live Zoom support groups that you can also join. And there's a live feed where you can post what's going on with you and how you're doing. You can also check out the Sober Motivation group where I post up some cool memes and just help people get through the day and get another day sober. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the new updates to the Sober Buddy app, do so in your favorite app store. Just search Your Sober Buddy or go on the web, yoursoberbuddy.com, and I'll see you over there. Getting help for addiction is never an easy thing to do, and picking the right place to get help makes it even more overwhelming. That's why I've decided to partner with the United Recovery Project. I've had a chance to get to know some of the incredible people working at the United Recovery Project over the years, and that is why this partnership makes so much sense. The United Recovery Project has a top-notch treatment facility and program. I truly believe in Brian Alzate, who is the co-founder and CEO and has 14 years clean. The properties themselves are beautiful with tons of amenities and activities. But most importantly, it's the level of care they offer. It's exactly what you would hope a family would receive, and the staff, who most of which are in recovery themselves, truly care. It's really apparent that they do their absolute best to create custom treatment plans to meet everyone's individual needs. If your loved one is struggling, reach out to them directly at 833-551-0077 or check them out on the web at urprecovery.com. Now let's get to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. We've got my friend Rachel, who runs a cool Instagram called Soberincentralpark. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And what we usually do is we just start off at the beginning to give everybody a foundation for how things were for you growing up.
Sure. So growing up, it was interesting for me. We moved around a lot as a kid. I'm the oldest of three kids in my family, and we went from Boston to New Jersey to Pittsburgh, back to New Jersey. It was like every few years we were moving around. And now I do know that that actually is pretty traumatic for children when you're in fifth grade, seventh grade, always being the new kid. So that's kind of how my childhood, that was I didn't have a consistency at all, really, throughout my childhood. My parents, I didn't have it was a good childhood. My parents, are great parents. They got divorced when I was 14. And right when they got divorced, that's really when everything started for me in terms of alcohol, drugs, just getting in trouble and just like being a troublemaker. I mean, I guess actually the troublemaker part started before the drugs and the alcohol, but, the divorce really was the thing that ignited everything for me.
So at 14, so for troublemaker stuff, yeah, I hear that story a lot, and I can definitely relate with my own story too. With there was a lot of red flags before I got into sort of addiction, with just defiant behavior, acting out behavior, didn't fit in. So how did you first get involved with the drinking or the other stuff?
So I do think that actually in another reality, if we hadn't moved around so much, I'm not sure I would have ended up on this path that I was in. But we moved to Connecticut when I was going into eighth grade. And I just immediately got in with the fast, quote unquote, crowd. Um, and then when my parents divorced, I really was trying to like find a way to numb the pain that I was in. My dad and I really didn't get along for most of my childhood. We just kind of clashed personality wise. So when I found older kids that were already drinking and were smoking weed, I was like, I want to try that. I want in. So the second I smoked, drank, and was able to find a sense of numbing, I was like, oh, okay, I've been searching for this feeling. I've been trying to find a way to not, to escape my reality. So yeah, it really started at the end of the summer before ninth grade for me. And I would really have to say that it was hanging out with kids that were older than me wanting to fit in, me not having, trying to make new friends in a new place. And that's what I thought I should do to make the friends. And looking back, it seems really silly, but when you're in eighth grade or ninth grade.
For me too, it was easier for me to connect with those people. Like I felt like it was less effort to connect because we had that one thing in common. We were doing that, and then it was like this instant bond in a sense with people to
Exactly.
connect with. Yeah. And moving around can be hard too. Like when I was younger, I was born in Canada, but when I was younger, we moved to Texas, and then then we moved from Texas to North Carolina. And it is hard starting all over because you have those relationships, you have the environment you're comfortable with, you know what to expect, and then up, move, and then you're kind of like trying to fit into a new school, new friends, and then everybody already kind of had their friends, and it was a really tough transition.
Exactly. And it was like the second I finally got comfortable somewhere, we were moving. And it was because, my family, they really originated in Boston. I mean, I have a lot of roots in New York City, but my parents both grew up in Boston, and they just kept trying to get back closer to our bigger family, which I understand now as an adult. You don't want to be far from your family with little kids, but it is disruptive. And it really does, I think, take a toll on the kids fitting in, finding friends. And for me, I happened to fall into the wrong crowd.
So how did things progress? What did things look like the next year and the next year?
So my parents get divorced, and I don't really have a good relationship with my dad for a while. And, I think it was hard on my mom, everything that she went through. So she kind of just let me do whatever I wanted for a while. And in retrospect, I mean, I also was a pusher. I would be like, I'm having a party. I want friends over. Don't tell me no. I would have parties on the weeknights. We would like watch Lost. We would have like Lost parties, and I'd be like, all my friends are coming over, and we'd have a bottle of Pop-Up, and we would finish the bottle of Pop-Up on a Tuesday night, and then I'll go to school the next day. And I come from a family of like really high achievers, and I was the first child on both sides, all sides of my family, and they really expected me to go to a top tier college. I started not going to school, to high school. I was just like skip school. I didn't care. And I started failing my sophomore year in high school. So my mom, she was like, you're not going down this route. And I'm so grateful for these chances that I got. And I look back and I know I got a lot of second chances. And it's something to this day I still have a lot of gratitude for. But she sent me to boarding school in Western Massachusetts, where I repeated my sophomore year. And I got diagnosed with ADHD 2 months into being at boarding school. Most of the school had ADHD. And at the time, back then, as a female adolescent, it was a whole lot harder to get diagnosed than it is now. And the second I was put on ADHD medication, my whole life changed. I immediately was able to focus, get my work done, excel. And I actually was like, when my GPA went from like a 2.4 to a 4.5 or whatever, it was like a while. They gave me like an award for most improved GPA. My teachers were like, wait, you're not done. You were just have really bad ADD and you weren't medicated. So that was a huge thing in my life, getting that ADHD diagnosis. And now it explains a lot for me why I like loved alcohol, why I couldn't just have one, why it does something with your dopamine receptors. And I've now learned that actually about 25% of people in recovery are diagnosed with ADHD. And that's just the people who are diagnosed. So I was in boarding school. I do really well. I don't really drink because you get kicked out of boarding school if you get caught drinking or doing anything like that. Maybe on the weekends when I'd go home, I would party, but I ended up getting into my top choice college. And that was like the goal. And I thought everything was fine. I'm good. I don't have any issues. And then I go to college, and that's where everything took a turn.
I can relate with you on the ADHD stuff because I had a diagnosis and I was prescribed Adderall when I was in. I it was so long ago, but yeah, probably like grade 7, grade 8. But I hated the way that I felt with the Adderall. I felt like I was shy. I felt I have a really hard time connecting with people. I just felt like I had blinders on. So part of my story is I stopped taking the Adderall. I would pretend that I was taking the Adderall. And that's when things really got, like, in high school for me, out of hand, suspensions and trouble and everything, because I just wasn't focused at all or had any interest. But yeah, I mean, that definitely, I see that for people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and those are all pretty, I guess, standard, like not side effects or things that kids do when you have ADHD as a teenager. I mean, I was always getting in trouble too. Like, yeah, I was at boarding school doing well academically, but I was running into the woods to smoke cigarettes. We would center our whole day on running into the woods to smoke cigarettes and not get caught by the teachers. So like I still think that there's a lot to be learned about ADHD, especially with females and adolescents. And just like recovery, no one's journey is the same, right? And I think there's a lot of different medications out there that do work for people, but I do think there's an overprescription problem that I saw firsthand at my boarding school because everyone lined up in the morning to get their meds from the nurse and they would watch you swallow them. And that's how I thought it was.
That's the boarding school. That's how they keep everybody in check, is it?
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, really, you have study hall from 8 to 10 p.m. They make you do a sport every season. You know, it was a co-ed boarding school, but you know, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I would have probably not experienced if I hadn't gone.
Yeah.
And I grew up a lot faster, I think too. We were going when we would leave on the weekends, we'd come to here to New York City and we would go out to clubs and we'd go to bars and I was only 15, 16.
Yeah.
So I had a fake ID, you know, I did that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I thought
So
I was so cool.
yeah, so but it sounded like it did some good stuff for you. Like it was a mix. It was a mixed bag. Did some good stuff for you. And then
It saved my life for sure. It definitely did because gave me structure and it gave me a schedule and it kept me in check. And when I look back to my college days, which were the total opposite, like so then I go to college, and I went to Dartmouth College where half of my family went and I was like expected to go. And I go there and there's no rules. Like I can do whatever I want. So I made all my friends by, drinking and finding shared commonality and partying. And I went crazy. I wanted to drink as much as I could, go to every single party. And that's really where, and then it was normalized. Everyone else was doing it in my world. So I didn't think it was weird. But for me, being up in the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire with a massive drinking culture was really the beginning of of the real alcohol problem that I had. So, I mean, I would black out, I would pass out everywhere. That was really my thing. I would drink so much where I would just fall asleep. And it was scary because people would think I was literally dead. But people coined it the Rachel pass out. It was scary. Not some bad things happened because of that. And looking back, I didn't realize how much pain I was in at the time.
that's a good point there at the end that you made too, because I'm thinking that listening here and I'm like, well, what was it that you were trying to avoid in a sense to, escape all the time? And you just kind of brought it up there at the end. pain of some sort, right?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of pain, I think, from feeling different. I think because of my ADHD, I had really bad anxiety. I always felt different than everybody else. And I had trauma from my childhood that I kind of just suppressed. And it took me years and years of therapy to really work through a lot of that stuff. There were sexual assault things that had happened to me. There were, various traumatic experiences in my life that I just thought it was easier to pretend that it never happened than to actually confront it face on and deal with those emotions and process them the right way instead of just like drinking them away every time I thought of anything that made me sad or anxious or whatever. Um, so it was interesting when I stopped drinking, when some random emotions would come up and I'm like, oh, I thought we were over that. Guess we're not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's the thing with drinking too, is that we just kind of push everything down for years too. So did you make
mhm.
it through college?
Barely. It took me 7 years to finish. I ended up leaving twice. Both were medical leaves on my own accord. Um, but that was hard. And each time I left, it was harder to go back. And when I went back, I was significantly older than everyone else there. That was really hard and really lonely and dark. But yes, I did graduate. And honestly, the 7 years of that experience, that was also kind of traumatic for me. Like, it was so stressful. I didn't also realize the extent of my learning differences. I found out at the end of college that I actually have an audio processing learning thing that actually goes hand in hand with ADHD. I now know, but I could have had a lot of accommodations that I didn't have, and it would have made my life so much easier. But because of my anxiety and all the drinking and partying, I just didn't go to that one office that I should have gone to that could have got me a note taker and all of these other things that probably would have helped me succeed. And I just didn't have them. But I
Yeah.
did finish.
That's good. In our life in general, when we're involved with the alcohol and the addiction, it's hard to ask for help even in other areas of our life that's not that.
Totally. And it can be lonely. It can be really lonely. I will never forget those last few months I was back at that school by myself, and that's when I was started drinking alone. I don't think I had ever drank alone before I went back for my final time up in New Hampshire there at Dartmouth, and I would go and I would buy Maker's Mark and I would just drink by myself. Like, I didn't want to go to the frats. I didn't want to hang out with kids that were like a lot younger than me, but I still wanted to drink. And I do remember thinking, like, is this a problem? Like, why am I just drinking whiskey by myself every night?
Yeah.
And I think that created some patterns that I then took with me after I left school.
What did you come up with when you kind of had that reflection on, is this a problem?
I didn't care. Like, and I think that was all of my 20s. I didn't care if it was a problem. Okay, it's a problem. So what? I'm going to drink up the problem away. I just stopped caring about myself. I stopped caring about the future. I stopped caring about everything, really. And that's a really scary place to be in. There was a lot of times where I didn't want to keep going. I would call my mom crying like every day, just being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to keep going on this journey. I am so unhappy just with everything. And that was I felt like that for like 10 years.
And what did it look like throughout the 10 years?
So for those 10 years, I would say those were like my whole 20s. And it was very up and down. There were some points that had $20 to my name because my parents had cut me off and I was deciding if I wanted to buy booze or gas for the day. I actually now am very happy that I had those experiences because I realize how much the addiction had me. I pawned jewelry. At one point, I was just in a really low vibrational state. And then I got to the city. I left after I finished school and I got back to New York City. I actually spent a whole year without a job. I was so depressed, I could barely open my computer and I could barely get out of bed. I would get out of bed to literally drink with my neighbor across the street, and we'd go down to any of the bars in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where I was living at the time, and just get absolutely hammered, do a ton of blow, and repeat the next day. So that's really what my 20s looked like, I would say, the whole time. I mean, I had jobs eventually, and then, but I still partied that way. And I probably woke up with a hangover or almost every day of my 20s.
So you're doing cocaine too then? You started that
Oh, yeah. I
after
mean,
college?
I did cocaine for the first time when I was 14, 15. It was very prevalent where I grew up, and it was easy to get. And I don't really talk about the drug use on my page on Instagram, but it was a big part of my life too. The alcohol was really the most consistent drug of them all. But I was like a quote unquote partier for a very long time. Everything. I went to a lot of raves, that kind of stuff. I was always just looking for an escape, and cocaine was so readily available. It was always big everywhere I went. So
Yeah.
I always was the party.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I mean, the alcohol and the cocaine, I feel like there's a big hand in hand type thing there. That was
For
for me
sure.
too. A lot of times when I would drink too, then I would get into the cocaine at the bars or at the parties, and you could always find it. I just remember just like you would always find the people, see the people with it. Like you could figure it out once you got the routine down pat. And then it just made
Oh, yeah.
everything like just, oh man, it just like the hangovers are bad. But like after the cocaine, you just feel like just even so much more depressed and anxious than ever starting. And then every day I'd wake up and be like, that's it. It was fun. It's done. And then it just like sticks around.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then, I mean, it got to a point with me where I was doing it almost every other day in college. Like we had so much of it. I was friends with like the Jamaican drug lords of Hartford.
Okay.
I mean, it was like another level.
So you were
Uh,
connected.
I was connected, so I could definitely get it pretty quickly. But it's also just everywhere in New York. People will make jokes. Like if you're waiting in line for the bathroom in a bar, it's because someone's doing coke in the bathroom. Like it's very normalized in New York too, which is kind of scary. But I luckily was stopped doing that at the end of my 20s because I realized it wasn't serving me. And I realized I felt like crap and I didn't like it. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? But I think also because cocaine isn't legal and it's not like a socially acceptable thing, it was easier to like stop doing and to tell people, oh, I'm not doing that anymore, and have them respect that decision versus alcohol.
So after your 20s, you give up the cocaine, which is good. Huge congrats. But the alcohol too, and you bring us some really good points there about socially acceptable. I feel like this is one of our biggest battles when it comes to alcohol. With the cocaine, with the other stuff, we know it's illegal. You can get in a lot of trouble, and it's not, readily available at the supermarket or convenience store. But the thing with alcohol is that it is. So how does that transition look for you?
For me, it was COVID when I stopped drinking, right? And I think that had a big part in my ability to hibernate and really keep to myself and focus only on myself and not have to worry about all of the outside noise as much in the beginning. And I really am grateful that I had that time, because like yesterday, just being out in the city, it really is everywhere. I mean, this is the holiday season too. Drink this, party with this. I mean, everywhere you look there's alcohol. So it definitely makes it a lot harder to stop drinking. It makes you feel like you're not in the norm. And I think that is bizarre. It is totally bizarre. But I would never have thought that way until I took a huge step back from it. Like when you're in it, you don't understand, I feel like,
Yeah,
how
for sure.
bizarre it is how our society pushes it on us at every turn. Like
Everywhere, exactly. I kind of see it like when you're part of it, it's like when you see that new car, that white Honda Civic, and then you see a white Honda Civic everywhere. When you're part of it, then it's just everywhere and you're in there. But once you take that step back and you get a better understanding of what's going on, oh my goodness, does it ever like just make sense? When you get sober, one of the big challenges people have when they get sober is that there's so much time. It's like you basically double the time you have alive, like in a sense, not technically, but you have so much more time to do stuff. And that's a big struggle for people. What was that like for you though? Because you're in the pandemic, you're getting sober. How did you deal with like being bored? And when exactly did you get sober?
So, and I totally agree with everything you just said, by the way. Like, I remember whole weekends that I didn't leave my couch and I would just like drink and watch TV and have a hangover. But for the spare time, yes. So I got sober January 3rd, 2021. I did dry January, but I couldn't commit, of course, to starting on the first of the month, but the third of the month. So yes, it was still COVID, but I needed to do something. I was going to go crazy sitting in my apartment, and I was with my ex at the time. Well, we were together, but the relationship was like spiraling over, and I we lived in a small apartment with my dog. So every time I was bored or really wanting a drink or something, I would just go out and start walking. And I also was at the unhealthiest point of my entire life. I weighed 100 pounds more than I do now. I didn't want to move my body. So I just forced myself to get out and start walking. And that turned into me going to Central Park. Even in the freezing cold, I would put on two pairs of pants, put on George, my dog's little jacket. We'd go to Central Park. But Central Park's huge. And even though I've lived in New York a long time, I didn't know my way around all of Central Park. Like, I knew a few areas. So we would just go to the park and turn around and come home. And as I got further into the journey of being alcohol free, I started to feel more confident and I started to step out of my comfort zone a little bit more. And as I did that, we started exploring the park more. And eventually that led to my dog George and I doing this like huge, like 6 mile loop in Central Park where he's running around off leash, which is allowed before 9 a.m. And it became our thing. And then we started going every single morning, and that took up a lot of time. And it got me moving my body. And I literally walked off the weight. And that's kind of where I came up with sober in Central Park, because I was literally sober in Central Park every day.
I love that. What were your biggest challenges early on? Like after the third, you said you wanted to do dry January. What came up for you? What challenges?
I had a lot of my friends at the time where we would just go out and drink. Like, that was our whole foundation of our friendship. Because in New York, you'll see a lot of people leave in their late 20s, early 30s. They move out of the city and start families. And so a lot of my friends, that had happened especially during COVID, a lot of people left. And the people that were still there were just drinking buddies. So I was going out to bars sometimes, I mean, not a lot, but and I found myself sitting around like drinking pineapple sodas, watching people get drunk. And I just realized, oh my gosh, I don't have anything in common with these people except for drinking. And I had to stop being friends with people. I mean, it wasn't like a conversation. It just was like a natural growing apart. But I think I was lonely for a while because I ended my relationship. I had my ex move out of my apartment, which was a lot. And that was at my like 100 days. So I felt pretty alone for a while, and that is not a great feeling. You never want to feel alone. And that's kind of what led me to create Sober in Central Park. Because I was searching for community and I was searching for connection and people who just understood what I was going through. And I found it through the Sober City movement, people like Michelle, sober in Los Angeles, and Alex over in Seattle. And now I have like 1 million friends on Instagram, and it's like so amazing, and it's the best thing. And yeah, I mean, it's really that connection and community and the time.
The connection and community is so good because when we do get sober, we do like realize that we don't have anything or much in common with people that we've been hanging out with. It's like one thing surrounds us. But I mean, that's just like the alcohol just grabs us. And then, for a lot of people I hear on the stories here too, it just becomes the one thing that's intertwined in every part of life. Like was doing a story yesterday and the guest shared too, like he didn't go to a restaurant if they didn't serve alcohol. He wouldn't go to a party. He wouldn't go out to eat at a place with another couple on a date with his wife if they weren't serving it. Wouldn't go here, wouldn't do that. So yeah, I mean, it becomes for us too. Like I feel like a lot of people I knew, that's what it was based on. But I feel like too, looking back, that's what I based a lot of my relationships on too. And it is what it is now, but I'm like, man, like, wow, like that's what everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, I relate to that guy because I was the same way. I was not going anywhere if there was no alcohol. Like that I kind of centered, I wasn't like drinking out of a mug during the day. Like I never did that. But if I was going to an event, they better be serving alcohol or I'm not going. Like, and I kind of would like look forward to all events because it was an excuse to drink. Even
Yeah.
with my family, anywhere, I'm like, oh yes, an excuse to just like drink during the day or drink whatever and not have to feel shame for it.
And then, yeah. And then once it's already there, you kind of feel like you're fitting in because other people are doing it. I always found that I just did it a little bit more, but not everybody picked up on it. It was always a great event to be a part of something where other people were kind of going outside the normal, right? Maybe they're being encouraged outside of the 5 o'clock hour to do it. Then I was like, home run, like, because now I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to slide right in with, what I'm doing and it'll just kind of all fit together for this one thing. So other people might be listening that are struggling to get or stay sober. I'm just wondering from your own experience, what's some advice you would have for them?
So I always say you need to find replacements. That is the biggest thing, I think, especially starting out. And so so for me, I chose tea as my replacement drink because I'm also a fast drinker. I love to have like a million like sodas. I'm gonna have a soda, a tea, and a water sitting right here. So I picked tea. I had never been a tea drinker, and I was like, you know what? Every time I want to drink, I'm just gonna make a cup of tea. I'm gonna try tons of different flavors, and let's go from there. And it actually really worked because by the time I was done making the tea, letting it like not be piping hot and finishing the drink, I didn't want the alcohol anymore. Like the craving had passed.
Mhm.
So replacement drinks, replacement like things to do with your time. Like I did the walking in Central Park, but also a creative passion, a creative hobby, like explore things you might never have tried when you were drinking. You want to replace some people in your life. You're going to want to set healthy boundaries and make space for new people to come in that you might identify with more. You need that community, that support. Find an online support group, do AA, whatever works for you, but find that support because I think that really is one of the most important parts too.
Yeah, I love all of that. That's all incredible. And I hear a lot of people that share that this type of stuff helps them, the connection, getting something else to stuff to do with your time. You know what I'm thinking though? So you went through all of this stuff, right? And it was for years, it was a mess for what it was, right? And then
Yeah.
we always look at what's helping us to stay sober. And these, not to take anything away from it, but it's simple stuff, right? Have a tea, connect with people and stuff. And I can't help but wonder, like, for my own journey too, I'm like, why didn't I try this stuff sooner? Do you think there's something about this that had to take its course for you to get a place where you were able to be open to the simple ideas, maybe?
100%. And now thinking back, I'm grateful that I went through all of those experiences and had the journey I did because without those negative experiences and all that time, quote, well, literally wasted, but also, and wasted, I mean, pun intended. Without all of that time wasted, I wouldn't appreciate the beauty of the alcohol free life and the beauty of my journey now. It wouldn't have the same, importance to me. And I think that, all of 2020, I drank a lot. Like 2021 of COVID was where I stopped. But I lost my job. I left New York City. I thought that being able to eat whatever I wanted, drink whatever I wanted, not have to have the responsibilities of work and just kind of do nothing would make me finally happy. And when that didn't make me happy and I was just as miserable as before, like maybe a little bit less stressed, I was like, how do I get to the place of waking up, feeling happy, wanting to take care of myself, wanting to work, exercise, and wanting to eat healthy and make and step out of my comfort zone. And I really had like a come to Jesus moment where I was like, the people that have that, they're not drinking the way I am. And I realized that 6 months before I stopped. And then it took me like 6 months to really say, okay, I'm just going to do it for 30 days. And then I think that was also key, not telling myself that I was going to do it forever, telling myself this is only going to be a 30-day thing. And then let's reevaluate at the end of those 30 days. But I'll tell you, someone with ADD and anxiety, the decrease in anxiety that I felt after just 30 days and that feeling in my chest that kind of was slowly going down, that was enough for me to know I wasn't about to have a drink after 30 days. I wanted to see how long I could go because the decrease in anxiety for me, I mean, I didn't know I could get to that kind of place. So now where I am with my anxiety, oh my God, it's what keeps me sober. That is what keeps me sober for sure.
Yeah. I always say too, like giving up the alcohol, you can start to realize benefits like so quickly. That stuff that you might have been like searching for. And the anxiety is a big one for that you might have been searching for outside solutions for like so long. And then just like not drinking and you're like, wow, it's like 50% better, 80% better now, or, different stuff. Right. So
It's wild. I mean, I literally couldn't do stuff on my own. I wouldn't go and walk around a neighborhood by myself. Had such bad anxiety that I had to bring someone with me. I mean, it was almost to a paranoia level sometimes. Now feeling so confident and being able to step out of my comfort zone and all of the things that came with not drinking, where I was waking up feeling good, exercising, just feeling clear headed and wanting to eat well. I mean, that all came because I took the drinking out of the equation. And then, obviously, when I was 8 months in, I started Sober in Central Park, and that has now become a huge way where I connect with people and spend my time. It's a big time commitment, as you know, I'm sure.
what is
Um,
it though for people listening who don't know what is Sober in Central Park?
So Sober in Central Park is my Instagram account where I just share my recovery. Really, I'm just trying to share what it's like to be on this sober journey. And, I'll sometimes go back into the past and talk about, where I was on this day 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I really want to show people that your life it's not a social ending to your life when you stop drinking. Like you can still have a lot of fun and actually have more fun, most likely. I just really want to show people that it's possible to change your life. I always thought that I couldn't do it and that I was either too far gone, it was too late for me, I had too much to lose. And it's not, all of that stuff wasn't true. And it really is possible. And, I want to spread that hope and show people if I can do it, you can too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I love all the stories. I love your personality that you bring into everything. It's very like fun. It's very exciting for people. And I believe that it does put that example out there that like this is possible and we can have a good time doing this and stuff because that's a big fear for people. I bet you had some thought of that when you're like the dry January, my friend, like, well, this is this is over. It was fun, but you get it back. You get that back. You're able to build connection. I remember spending, just hundreds of dollars on concerts of shows to go and see this stuff and not remember anything. And I'm like, well, and I thought it was fun. I'm like, well, how is that? What's fun about that to spend 300-400 bucks on seeing somebody do a incredible performance and not remember any of it? Like, what fun that was.
Totally. And that goes with everything we do, with birthdays, anniversaries, like everything in the society. They're like, okay, go to this really fun, awesome event, but then drink. So it's going to be blurry and you're not going to remember most part of it. Like, uh, why do we do that? Don't we want to remember these milestones and these like events in our lives? And but you're right. Like I really didn't think. I thought like, oh, this is the end for me. Like my fun time was over. Goodbye to that person. But wow. I mean, last night I was at a Curious Elixir launch in Brooklyn, actually right where I used to live. And they have a clubhouse and they had music. And it was so nice, so fun, so chill. And there's no alcohol there. And I do think that talks kind of to the shift in our culture that we're seeing around alcohol. But wow, I mean, I had a blast and no alcohol needed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does take a little time. So if you're listening to this though and you're like, why am I not having the fun yet? Just give it a little time because it takes, you know, a little bit of time into your sobriety, but you get there. And once you get there, it's magic. Like
Yeah, it's magical for sure. Well, we'll wrap things up there, but I appreciate you so much for coming on here and sharing your story and sharing all this great stuff. Thank you.
well, thank you so much for having me. And I've been a big fan already. So I'm so happy to be here.
Wow, another incredible episode. Huge shout out to Rachel for coming on the podcast and sharing her story with us. Look, this is going to drop right before New Year's Eve. It's a big day of party. It's a big day of celebration. And I just want to encourage everybody to stay sober, stay on this journey. And if you're going to check out Dry January to get your sober journey started or just to try things out, that's part of Rachel's story as well. That's where it all started for her. So rock on, get that started, and I hope to see all of you in the review section on your favorite podcasting platform, dropping a beautiful review for the podcast to help us get the word out there. Thank you so much for all your support, and I will talk to you in the new year.